what's happening today is to change the world forever and the way that you live forever, a totally controlled society in so many different ways. And eventually the old man will die off, the old woman will die off, and they'll bring in new kinds of clones and so on down the road. That's what transhumanism is all about. They plan to have a better servant class in the future for the elites, and the old kind is obsolete. They'll never get to the top, they'll never rise to the top of anything. That's what they truly believe, and they said that 100 years ago. That all those that had a capacity for doing so, to become awfully rich and to get up to either inventions or manipulating money, that had already achieved the goals. The old types were all down in the working class, they're all doing factory work and things like that. They'd never ever changed. Therefore, they believed that evolution had already taken place, and they were the ultimate ones at the top. They still believe that today, by the way. So they want to get you used to the idea of changing humanity through DNA changes and manipulating the genes. And then, of course, transhumanism, even using gender bending too, to get used to that as a way towards the new system. It's not to help people with problems, it's simply to get the whole society accepting that science, which is just basic cosmetic surgery, can actually change your gender, etc., etc. It's cosmetic. Understand the big boys, when they print something from their big think tanks, they mean it, and they don't change their policies. That's why things sound mad at times to most folk at the bottom. When the lies, the blatant lies that are put out from the top, don't make sense. Remember George Orwell's 1984, where Winston, the character who was the hero, he's really called the last man, the last thinking man who understands what's happening. That was going to be the name of the book, actually. And his top boss and torturer, O'Brien, fills him in on reality, true reality. But also O'Brien says to him, he said, if I tell you, Winston, I can fly, he says, you will believe that I can fly. Not just want to convince him to stop torturing him, you'd have to actually believe it. Same with how many fingers am I holding up, count them. And Orwell, of course, or Winston thought that the right to sanity and freedom was the right to say 2 and 2 is 4. In other words, use logic. If you don't have the right to use logic, you have nothing at all. And O'Brien said, if I hold up a 5 instead of 4, he says, you will eventually come to believe it is 5. It's not good enough to lie. You better believe it. And that's what all this constant repetition is all about today, by the professionals and Sunstein at the top and different ones working with him, to do with behavior modification of all the populations, even getting us to try and accept insanity. And people do prattle on it. Like I say, the gender bending thing is nonsense. It's cosmetic surgery. It is by a hormonal treatment. There's nothing natural about it. A woman is born naturally as a woman, a female, and males too. A woman has a womb and ovaries and so on. She doesn't need excess hormones for anything, and neither does the boy. So what you're seeing is a fake attempt, just a cosmetic change to get you to accept that science can do anything, because they do plan to eventually bring in new kinds of humans. And many years ago I went on the air and talked about that too, from some of the top scientific magazines, where they said they'd have specialized creatures or humans to do specialized jobs in different areas, including even underwater. So this is the agenda you're living through today. I've mentioned too that the Club of Rome wrote back in the 1970s, and it's a big think tank that advises all governments and the United Nations, again a front group for the Royal Institute for International Affairs. They said themselves that democracy would never work, but they would use democracy to get all the agendas through for the wars, to blast countries that didn't believe in this fake democracy, to get them under the same system